Hey there guys, what is going on? We are back on the tier maker website, and that can only mean one thing. Of course, we are doing a ranking tier list. Of course, these are going to be the assault rifles in the Cold War Season 6 update. There is the haunting event going on right now, which is very, very exciting. There's a couple of cool new things about it. Probably my favorite thing is the little skeleton jack in the box thing that jumps out on the Halloween Nuketown. But anyway, we are taking a look at our tier rankings here. At the bottom, we do have the green tier, which is the dumpster tier. You do not want to find yourself in this list. This means you are basically unusable in this game. Then we have the situational list, and that is going up a little bit better. Weapons that specialize in really only one or two situations and then otherwise are not very good. In the middle, we do have viable and meta kind of. These are slightly similar. Basically, these are weapons that you can get the job done with. They're not the best, but they're definitely not the worst. Very, very middle of the road. Then we do have above that, we have the meta. These are weapons that are very, very good in this game. Weapons that you can definitely get loads and loads of kills with, and they are, of course, exceeding in the meta at the moment. And then we have the broken list, which is actually interesting. I don't think we have any guns in the broken tier at the moment for the assault rifles, meaning the weapons in the assault rifle category are quite well balanced. So as we do start off here, we do have the AK-47, which, I mean, this is a very, very good weapon in this game. You've heard me talk about this a lot recently, and there's a very, very cool blueprint in the battle pass at, I think, tier 38, I think it is. And basically, it does feature the cattail, and it is a really, really good blueprint. Basically, this does have a 300 millisecond time to kill out to about 70 meters or so with the right attachments. Ridiculously easy to control recoil, good aim down side speed. You know where we're going to put this thing. It's not broken because, I mean, it doesn't kill egregiously fast or anything like that. It's just a very, very good assault rifle right now. So we're going to put this in the meta tier. Next, we do have the Fara 83, which, as you may know by looking at the channel recently, this does perform very, very similar to an AK-47. Again, a 300 millisecond time to kill out to 50 or 60 meters depending on your attachments. Great bullet velocity stat here at about 1499 meters per second, which is really, really fast. Basically as close as you're going to get to hit scan in this game, which is, again, a very, very important statistic. Again, not too bad in terms of the aim down side speed. You can mix and match some of your attachments to make it a little bit better or have more magazine ammo capacity. There's good things about the Fara 83 and very, very similar to the AK-47. I would put this in the meta tier as well. Very, very good assault rifles in the game at the moment. Then we do have the FFAR 1, which does feature a very, very fast TTK of 264 milliseconds out to about 15 meters or so, like 10, 15 meters or so. You do have to play this like a little bit of an SMG. It is interesting that they did actually make this weapon good after it being bad for so long. Again, 264 milliseconds worth of TTK up to about 15 meters is lightning fast in the assault rifle category. And it is actually very, very surprising to say that I really think the FFAR 1 is one of the meta weapons in the game at the moment. Being able to like, absolutely delete people really, really close range is a good weapon. Does struggle a little bit at those longer distances, but just play up close and you will be absolutely fine with the FFAR. Then we do have the Groza here, and these are kind of the tiers of weapons that are all sort of fairly similar. The next ones that we're going to go over, they're all sort of fairly similar. Basically, with the Groza, this does feature a slightly slower time to kill than some of the other weapons that we have featured previously. I think it's like 320 milliseconds, which is a number that's actually going to be seen in a lot of the weapons coming up. But I mean, that's not too bad. Like, the difference between 300 milliseconds and 320 milliseconds is about 20 milliseconds, obviously, but it's not really that significant. You're still going to do okay with the Groza. The recoil on this thing is a little bit snaky up, like left and right, but it's not too bad. The iron sights on this thing are really clean. I do actually think this is quite a good weapon. And there's some interesting attachment choices, especially something like the KGB pad, which actually does increase your sprint to fire speed, I think it is, by 50%, which is absolutely massive for an assault rifle. So we're going to put this in the meta kind of tier. If it was a little bit faster killing in terms of that TTK value, this would probably be part of the meta tier as well. Again, we do have the Krig 6 here, which again does feature a slightly slower TTK value. I think it's about 320, 330 milliseconds off the top of my head, which in this game is just a touch slow. Like when you are competing directly with an AK-47 or a Fara 83, and you come up against a Krig 6, you're winning that gunfight most of the time if they do fire at the same time. Just how it goes. But again, the Krig 6 is a ridiculously easy to control weapon. Doesn't have really any recoil at all. Even without like super recoil controlling attachments, this thing's just super easy to control. Don't worry about the recoil on this thing. Again, I think this is a weapon that you can do some work with. It's not one of the best weapons in the game, but it is definitely a viable option to go with in most situations. Similar to that, the QBZ, of course, is going to be another weapon that is very, very similar to this. Again, I've not used this an awful lot, but I know how it plays for the most part. It's a fine weapon. Again, they did reduce the recoil with this thing, so it is pretty easy to control without all those big recoil controlling attachments. So you can mix and match some stuff here, maybe make a stealth sort of like close range build if you prefer that. But again, the TTK value is a little lackluster on this thing, very, very similar to something like the Krig 6 at about 310 to 330 milliseconds. I can't think of the number off the top of my head, but but it's in that range there. So again, very, very similar to the Krig 6. And we're going to put this in the viable tier because, I mean, it's just a weapon is fine. There's not really too much wrong with it. It just kills a little slowly here. Then we do have the XM4, which again is very, very similar to some of the other weapons that we have just mentioned. I think the TTK on this thing is about, again, 320-ish milliseconds. Not sure again of the number off the top of my head, but the attachment options on this thing and the iron sights, they have changed sort of recently to make them sort of zoom out further from your face. Makes it actually a way, way more easy to use weapon. You can get some decent attachment options on this thing, especially that magazine that is just a 40-round speed mag with no aim down side speed negatives is a fantastic attachment. We've got good barrel options on this thing, but again, that TTK value is about 320 milliseconds, which is slightly slower than some of the other better weapons in this game. So again, this is very, very similar to like the Groza. We're going to put this in the meta kind of tier. Could be said that this is a viable weapon, so it's sort of halfway between these two. If we had one in the middle, it would probably go in there. Then we do have the C58, which I have been putting in the dumpster tier since it did launch. And over time, they have buffed this thing fairly significantly here to make it quite a good weapon in this game. We did feature this in a video the other day and actually did quite well, and this is a weapon that I am actually growing quite fond of. It's not one of those sort of super meta busters, man. Like, it's not a 300 millisecond TTK weapon or faster, but it is still a reliable killing tool. The recoil on this thing's really easy. The magazine option that you can go with actually does give you 60 rounds in the mag, as well as a decent amount of recoil control, so you do actually get 2 attachments in one there. That does reduce your damage slightly, but I mean, with the TTK value in this game being, again, about 320-ish milliseconds, or 320 to 330, it's really not too big of a deal. You do kill slightly slower than some of the better weapons in this game, but it's still fun, still easy to use, and actually a good weapon in this game now. I'm going to put this in the viable tier, which I didn't think I was going to be doing. It's probably the top of the viable tier, pushing meta kind of. It's not that good, but I feel like this is a good spot for it after being in the dumpster for so long. I really, really do like the C58 now. Then we do have the EM2. Now, I'm a little torn on the EM2. I think it is in a good spot at the moment. The TTK value has been reduced a little bit. You need to get, I believe it's 2 body shots and a headshot to get a 3-shot kill now. I think that's the way the damage numbers work out with that 1.4 times headshot multiplier. If you get, of course, a headshot and then 2 body shots, you're still getting that 3-shot kill, I believe. I can't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head. Again, my numbers game is not going very well at the moment. I've not played an awful lot of Call of Duty. But again, the EM2, still relatively easy to control that recoil. You do have to sort of rejig some of your attachments if you do want to make this thing as easy to use as possible. I'd probably recommend you run like the front grip on it now, just because you get that extra recoil control decrease from the Task Force barrel. But I mean, this thing's still pretty easy to use. It does good work here. I'm just not 100% sure about where to place this. Probably either the bottom of the meta tier or the top of the meta kind of tier. I'd like to put this in a tier in between these two. I'm not a massive fan of it anymore. It just shoots a little slowly. But if you are getting that headshot and 2 body shots, I believe you still get that 3-shot kill. So it's kind of a bit of a toss-up where to put this thing. I'm going to put it at the bottom of the meta tier. I feel like it could slip, but I feel like this is the right spot for it at the moment. And then we do have the newest assault rifle addition to the game, which is the Grav, or the Galil as you may know it. Now, where are we going to put this thing? Again, this does feature a slightly slower time to kill than some of the other weapons that we have featured on this list, which is a little bit of a shame. But I mean, being able to get that like 320 millisecond time to kill with no recoil on this thing, it's a super easy weapon to use. And when we have spoken about no recoil, kinda okay TTK values, well, that goes in the meta kind of tier. I think the Grav isn't like one of the best guns in the game, but it's really easy to use, doesn't have the worst TTK I've ever seen, and it's actually quite fun. The attachment options are a little bit bad at the moment. Like, the magazine and the barrel does increase your damage number, but it decreases your fire rate, I believe, with the Task Force barrel, so it's a bit like, what do we choose here? Like, if those attachments was designed to improve the TTK value of the gun, they don't really. They actually make it a little bit worse in terms of that TTK. So it's a very, very interesting weapon in this game, and I feel like it could receive a little bit of changes in maybe the Season 6 Reloaded patch if they do end up doing one before, like, Vanguard comes out. We'll have to wait and see with this thing. I like the Grav. I'm going to put this in the meta kind of tier, probably at the bottom of the meta kind of tier, mostly because it could slip down into there. It's a very, very similar to weapon that we have featured in this middle period before. Again, these middle guns are very, very similar to each other, like your Grozas, your M4s, and then like your Gravs, and these are all fairly similar. And then the absolute standout weapons in the meta at the moment are, of course, the AK-47, the Fara 83, the FFAR 1, and I'm not 100% sold on the EM2 anymore, but I think it's still kind of good. But again, that was our list here. If you agree with me or you disagree with me, make sure you let me know in the comments. I love talking about Call of Duty with all of you guys. If you are there in the comment section, make sure you do hit that subscribe button as well. I love to see this little community grow, and it's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely makes my day. And while you are there, you might as well hit that like button as well to get these videos to more eyes. And of course, cut through the YouTube algorithm, which is very, very important these days. And again, hopefully you did enjoy this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!